Hello and welcome back to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel, and in today's episode we're going to continue our Vauxhall story for 1980, now with the Cavalier. Hello and welcome back. If you're new to Quarterlight, we're a car brochure channel here on YouTube, looking at car brochures from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s, and sometimes beyond those parameters as well. So if you're interested in cars, car brochures, looking back at cars gone by, memories is really what this channel is all about, then please consider subscribing. It is all completely free. Anyway, back to today's episode. We've been looking through this 1980 Vauxhall range brochure. We've already looked at the Chevette and Astra. We're now up to the Cavalier. So if you missed any of them episodes, I'll do a link at the end of this episode. I guess it really doesn't matter what order you particularly watch these in. Anyway, let's throw the brochure on the board and we'll talk about it. Compare it to the Opel like we have been doing in this series, and then we'll talk about a few little bits of trim details and some strange peculiarities with the range. Anyway, let's have a look at that now. So the range at the moment consists of new and old vehicles really. So Chevette, Astra really is the new boy, the sparkling new car, although as we saw last week a very limited range at this time. Cavalier, Cavalier Sport Hatch, Carlton and Royale. So an interesting range for sure. We're up to Cavalier. We won't be looking at the Cavalier Sports Hatch because we'll be able to compare that with something different next week. So we'll stick with just the Cavalier as in the saloon car version. We'll go to that page. Like I say, we'll be comparing that with the Opel equivalent, which at this time is the Opel Ascona. Interestingly, we've got a 1980 Opel brochure, so we'll be able to look at it like for like, because the Opel brochure is also a UK brochure. That strange time when Opel and Vauxhall were kind of like separate and almost competing against each other, which was a bit weird. Anyway, let's turn to Cavalier. So before we get to the range itself, this is where it's kind of like the introduction, where it's introducing each model. For the Cavalier it says, broke new ground with its combination of styling, drivability and all-round reliability that has made it a yardstick for which others are judged. The problem with Cavalier at this time, it is becoming an aging model, of course. It looks quite aging when you look at it next to an Astra. But let's turn to the range itself. So here it is, Cavalier. This strange theme throughout this brochure of it, travelling through the mud for reasons I'm not 100% sure about. But anyway, it introduces it as Cavalier. The Cavalier's high standards of style, comfort and equipment are not usually associated with family cars. A wide range is covered, from two-door saloon through to the superb Cavalier 2000 GLS 4-door saloon, plus the sports hatch model, which exploits the Cavalier's ride handling and road holding to the full. Like I say, the GL model here travelling in the mud for whatever reason. We've also got this rather lovely, and probably my favourite in the range, to be honest, even though, let me just see if I can clear that picture up a little bit. It's a tiny picture, so that's probably the best I can do, but there are nicer pictures later on. But the Cavalier GLS, like I say, probably my favourite of the Cavaliers at this time, although Quarterlight does like a base model as well. And then the final picture is this lovely yellow Cavalier L. Like I said, these are only tiny pictures, so let's turn to the range itself to get a better idea of what these are like. So the first model up is the Cavalier L, and for those interested, the 78 brochure had exactly the same image. Very little change actually from 78 to 80 for the Cavalier, but we'll certainly compare it to the Opel in a little while. We'll start with a little bit of a description up here somewhere, and then we'll come back to these lovely images. So the Cavalier L in 2 and 4-door saloon, 1300 or 1600 power. Remind me to talk about the 1300 and their peculiarities in a moment. Cavalier, it's practical and driver appeal shows in many ways. Hard-wearing cloth upholstery, fitted front inertia reel seat belts, full carpeting and well laid out controls are complemented by ride and handling that scores top marks with drivers. Nice. Here are all the interior features and exterior features in a moment and the options. I'm not going to read them all out though today, but if you do want to pause the screen, you certainly can do. Moving down, more interior features on the left hand side, and then it starts talking about the exterior features on the right hand side. Notice 12 colours, although 7 only for the two-door. Anyway, options, we can have an automatic transmission for the 1600 only and metallic paint. So yeah, 1300 or 1600 for the L spec model. Going to the images, always love it when they do these sort of x-ray style pictures. I like them. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I really like them. Sadly it didn't come with a glass roof. That would have been a bit weird, wouldn't it? Anyway, looking at the interior, super basic really. I mean, as basic as they could make them really, although for 1980 it's probably what you was expected. It is showing a radio in there, but that is an option from the Vauxhall accessories. So it didn't show it as an option on this list, but because that was more like manufactured options. The options at this time for Vauxhall was part of a Vauxhall accessories list, which was more of a dealer fit type of thing. The main image, here is our lovely example in green. I always loved the design actually of the Mark I Cavalier. By this time it's certainly looking a little bit ancient now next to the Astra, because they're using this droop snoot still, and the Astra brought a huge change to Vauxhall really, but I always like that design, and I think the droop snoot really is the main difference between these and the Ascona that we'll look at in a moment, because basically it was just an Ascona with this sort of droop snoot on there, because it had this droop snoot, a bit of a longer bonnet, and that was pretty much it. But I preferred the droop snoot. I thought it made it look a little bit more interesting. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. But notice, of course, this is the 80s, so no head restraint. Safety was a bit of a second thought really still at this time, when other countries had been mandating head restraints for quite a long time, actually by 1980. So amazingly, the UK was a little bit slow with safety. I'm not sure why, but they were a little bit slow on that. But yeah, so the main change we're going to see obviously is going to be that droop snoot when we look at the Ascona, which, like I say, the Ascona was still being sold in the UK at this time. So strange that it was kind of like competing against each other in some ways. And I guess the main thing is probably which front end you preferred was probably going to be the vehicle you was going to pick. Anyway, let's have a look on the inside. Loved the seats though. Sadly didn't have head restraints, but I did love this seat design. This was like plaid cloth pattern type design. I think they look really good, particularly with the bold colours on the outside. Overall, not too bad an interior. Yeah, it was pretty basic, of course, because this is just the base L model, but not too bad a place to be. Oh, and thank you for reminding me about the 1300s. The 1300 used the same engine as the Chevette and Viva. And we know actually that this interior is going to be the 1300 because it's got this little sort of like stubby gear lever in there, because it's sharing the mechanics with the Chevette, whereas the other models will look completely different. The older brochure has actually got a better shot of this. There is that stubby, unusual little gear lever for the 1300. Would look different on the 1600. And thank you for one of our loyal subscribers who always comments, and I love all your comments. I may not always reply to every comment, but I do read everyone's comment and I do appreciate them. The comment from this subscriber reminded me about this unusual gear lever for the 1300, so thank you so much for reminding me to say that, because I always forget, because that's me. Anyway, let's compare it to say the next model up, maybe the 1600 gear lever, and I'll show you how that's different. So I've kind of tried to put it in the same shot, but I'll zoom in this in a moment. But you can certainly see stubby little gear lever for the 1300, rest of the range this sort of like longer angled gear lever. Now the question I've always had, and I've never drove both cars back to back, so I can't really answer this. If they made this such a long curved, sorry, not curved really, angled gear lever, does that mean the 1300 was a bit of a stretch to reach? Completely different ergonomic design, aren't they? Interesting. Or is it just because they raised this more? Although they've obviously raised that as well, so that question I can't answer, but I can certainly tell you that the 1300s were different because it was shared with the Viva. And of course Chevette, which is still around at this time. Whereas your rest of the range's gear lever looks more not aerodynamic, it doesn't look more aerodynamic at all. Although I guess you could say it more aerodynamic because of the slope. But what I'm trying to say, it's a lot more ergonomic. You'd think this would fall at your hand far easier, but I don't know. Handbrake wrenched on there. Be careful, this is a new car. Anyway, let's continue our journey. Oh, and just before we do continue with our journey, I should really point out that obviously the gear lever is closer to the handbrake, therefore this little stubby gear lever is closer to the driver, so you can obviously still operate it. But what I was trying to say really is they're both going to feel very much different to drive just for that reason, I think. Let me know in the comments what you think anyway. Anyway, yes indeed, let's continue our journey. So the next model up is the GL, so the L with a few more niceties on there. This is the image actually we was looking at to compare our gear levers. Available as a 1600 or a 2 litre now. So we'll have a look at a little bit of the text, see some of these sort of extra features over the L, and then we'll come back to these images. So Cavalier GL, 4-door saloon, 1600 or 2 litre power. As good as it looks and more. GL regarded as a grand luxury. So I guess the L is luxury, amazingly enough, because that is precisely what the Cavalier GL is all about. It offers it in generous measures. In the refined exterior styling, in the plush interior, Cavalier looks the part, from its styled sports road wheels to its distinctive bright sill and protective waist mouldings. Inside, the Cavalier GL's high level of luxury is set off by rich velour cloth upholstery, hard wearing and comfortable, and thick carpeting. Even the front and rear lower door sections are carpeted to avoid scuffing. Additional sound insulation make the Cavalier GL as quiet as a whisper. And there is a host of extra equipment, such as the push button radio, to add to your comfort and convenience. And it tells us the Cavalier GL specifications as for the Cavalier L Plus, so we'll go down to them. But overall I think the GL was quite a big jump up from the L overall. So the interior extras are also ribbed velour cloth trim, my favourite of the seat fabric, so I would have been tempted by that. Carpeted lower doors, additional sound insulation, push button radio, passenger's door mat pocket, vanity mirror, dipping rear view mirror, rear assist straps, extra bright work, boot light, cigar lighter, trip speedo, quartz activated clock. Really things we would expect on a car today, and we wouldn't think a thought about it, but back then you kind of like makes you want to go for the GL. So the different exterior features: extra bright work, matte black rear panel bright surround, body side mouldings with PVC inserts, bright sill and wheel arch mouldings, retractable aerial, sports road wheels, bright wheel trim rings, GL boot badge of course, and then the options for these: you can have auto transmission, metallic paint, but now you can also have sliding steel sunroof and even alloy road wheels. So pictures shown here are this GL in motion. The image we've already looked at actually to compare the gear levers, but what lovely seats they are, and those nice door cards. There's a nice interior actually, with those rather lovely ribbed velour cloth seats. I do like those, and in blue, sort of metallic blue with those blue seats, a nice sort of match. And there is our main image. I do like the road wheels actually that they used on the GL. They do look very nice. Incidentally, exactly the same image used in the 78 brochure, and actually exactly the same interior picture. Anyway, let's move on to my favourite of the Cavaliers at this time, the GLS. Very nicely appointed, but I like things like the vinyl roof and the black touches at the rear. Just makes it look a little bit special, I think. But anyway, we'll look at the text, look at the features, then we'll come back to these lovely images. Incidentally, this is a new model actually. This wasn't in 78. So a distinctive, luxurious four-door saloon, 2000 power. A high-performance saloon with an impressive level of luxury. The Cavalier 2000 GLS inherits all the road holding and handling attributes for which the Cavalier design is renowned. The powerful and refined Cam-in Head 2000 engine is capable of delivering impressive maximum speed and acceleration figures, yet gentle use of the throttle can result in really economical motoring in terms of miles per gallon. And to complement the executive style of the Cavalier GLS, GM Automatic is available as an option. So the specifications for the GLS: above the L, so ribbed velour cloth trim, adjustable front head restraints, carpeted lower doors, cloth door trim, passenger's door map pocket, additional sound insulation, front continental door armrests, 4-spoke sports steering wheel, tinted glass all round, laminated screen, boot light, cigar lighter, quartz clock, push button radio, vanity mirror, dipping rear view mirror, rear assist straps, and instrument console incorporating rev counter, volt meter, oil pressure gauge. And then it takes us through the exterior features. So extra bright work, we get that nice vinyl roof cover, matte black rear panel bright surround, body side mouldings with PVC inserts, bright sill and wheel arch mouldings, retractable aerial. We get sports road wheels, bright wheel trim rings, 185/70 SR radial tyres, GLS boot on the badge, and a choice of 12 colours. Our options now are the auto transmission, metallic paint, sliding steel sunroof, and alloy wheels. Main picture, and yeah, doesn't it look nice with that vinyl roof? It looks like it has got the optional alloy wheels on this particular model, so a very nicely spec'd model. I wonder if there's any of these still on the roads in that sort of condition today. From the rear, again, a nicely styled car for sure, and I like this sort of black panel on the back that they did. Badging, Cavalier 2000 GLS. Note, fog lamp now, so we're having to have a fog lamp, so they have been added on there, where in 78 none of the vehicles in that particular brochure wore a fog lamp. Inside, a much more complete bank of gauges now for the GLS. Inside, a nice return of those velour cloth seats. Like I say, overall the Cavalier GLS is certainly my favourite, although of course it's going to be the most expensive in the range. But interestingly, this model wasn't shown at all in the 1978 brochure. After the GL in the 78 brochure, let's see if I can do this, and just apologies for my arm sweeping over the camera there. So in its place, the two-door coupe GLS was in its place. And after that, in a separate section completely, the Cavalier Sports Hatch, where in 78 they lumped this with the rest of the Cavalier range. But we'll come back to this one next week. But let's have a look at our Opel Ascona at the same time. So here is the Opel brochure that we're going to compare with today. This is also from 1980. This is also a UK brochure. So a fair comparison, and shows us both the Vauxhall and Opels were sold in the UK at the same time. So in some ways competing, particularly when you look at things like the Kadette, which is pretty much exactly the same model as the Astra. Ascona, I guess, looks wise, it looked a little bit different, so you may have got a slightly different buying public, so maybe it didn't compete so directly. But anyway, let's have a look at the Ascona. So here is our Opel Ascona, sold at the same time. So essentially, if you ignore this area, it's a Cavalier, isn't it? It's just that the Vauxhall decided to continue with that droop snoot idea. In fact, when they were actually developing the Cavalier, they were going to go for something completely different, but ended up just being the same car with a different front on, really. Little different, although you'll notice that the spec levels are different as well. We'll start with the text. This Opel brochure is different. It doesn't really treat each model separately, unfortunately. It just lumps them all in this same page. But we'll have a read of the text. Let's learn a bit more about the range, and then we'll look at some of these lovely images. It tells us this year's Opel Ascona is better than ever. We've given rear seat passengers more legroom. A smart new grille brightens up the look at the front, and the bumpers are now plastic, covered to ward off dents. But there are some things we couldn't improve, such as the outstanding comfort and handling, or the fine finish and proven reliability that are hallmarks of German engineering. You've 4 Asconas to choose from. The Ascona L has a lively 1.6 litre engine, note no 1.3 here, that runs on 2-star fuel, plus a specification that includes cloth upholstery, disc front brakes, halogen headlamps, and plenty more. The Ascona GL offers a 75 bhp version of the 1.6 engine, with the option of a 2 litre 100 bhp power unit for even more relaxed performance. Other refinements include wide sports wheels, quartz clock, cigar lighter, and optional auto transmission. To this, the fully equipped Ascona Berliner adds even more luxury. The 2 litre engine is standard, as are the headlamp wash wipe system, velour upholstery, bronze tinted glass, and full instrumentation. So, excused for choosing this just for the headlamp wash wipe, I would understand that. And for the real enthusiast, there's now the Ascona SR, a practical everyday fun car with its sporty 2-door body, 2 litre power, and wide alloy wheels, plus a wide range of performance options. Ascona motoring is now even more fun than before. So I zoom in on this lovely blue example. It does look really nice actually, and just confirmation there that we are looking at UK cars, UK registration number there. Further confirmation that these have been sold next to the Cavaliers. Not next to as in the showroom, but next to as in you could go in the Opel showroom and buy one of these if you wanted. Do like the wheels on these, they do look very nice. Nowhere does it actually tell us which model is which. I'm presuming this is the GL though, because it looks quite high spec, but doesn't have those wipers on there. A look at the interior of what looks like a more poverty spec model. Look, no radio in there. Nice look at the steering wheel on that Opel badge though. We move the camera up. It is showing one of the headlamp wiper models, so the more high spec models, probably the Berliner if I had to guess. And we do get an interior shot. Certainly one of the more high spec models. This one's an auto though, but you can certainly see that sports steering wheel on there. All red inside, I do like that. And then the main shot there, again it's a more high spec model if we zoom in. And then again we can just about make out that V registration UK plate and those headlamp wipers. You know, I would have been tempted for the headlamp wipers, I must admit. Sorry Vauxhall. This particular model, one thing I was going to say, they do look more modern actually with these sort of black bumpers rather than the more chrome look of the Cavaliers actually, don't they? Anyway, what I was going to say, there is a Berliner badge on this one, so that does confirm this is the Berliner model. So a pretty high spec model, and again I do like these wheels. They are quite appealing with this black area in there. So overall, what can we say? What would you choose? Would you go for the Opel or the Vauxhall? I don't know. I guess it's all down to really taste, really, whether you prefer that droop snoot front or this more squared off look. In some ways I kind of like feel that Opels have gone for a more sporty than the Vauxhalls, but maybe that's just how I'm seeing it. But yeah, certainly in comments let me know which one you prefer. Personally, I think I would have still gone for that GLS Cavalier. I don't know, there's something about that one I really like, but again, just a personal thing, so throw in your comments what you would have gone for. The real problem with the Cavalier at this time, 1980, we're not far from the new model. Maybe good deals on them though. Maybe you could have gone for the GLS and been able to afford the GLS for the first time right at the end before the all new Cavalier came around. This is a 1981 brochure, looking more Astra at the front end, fitting in with that particular range more. In some ways I find the older one a little bit more interesting though. But anyway, just in the comments your opinions and your views. I do enjoy reading those. But overall, thank you so much for watching today. Quarterlight and the Mark I Cavalier for 1980. Next week we'll look at the Sport Hatch, compare it to the Manta. That'll be another interesting look at these interesting cars for 1980. Like I say, jot your views and opinions and even your experiences in the comments. I do read all of them and I do enjoy reading all of those. But we'll end, as we always do, by saying, please do remember to like and subscribe. It's all completely free. Yes, it doesn't cost you a penny to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching today. I'll add a couple of extra boxes next to the Cavalier GLS for other episodes you can watch, and also one of those boxes is going to be for this series. So if you have missed either the Astra or indeed that lovely Vauxhall Chevette, then you can do in those boxes, and eventually we'll have the whole series for this 1980 brochure in that one place that's easy to find. And who knows, when they're all there, maybe you'd like to watch them all back to back. But thank you so much for watching today. Do take care. We'll see you very soon, and goodbye.